Hi, this is Captain Pat May, the Negotiating Committee Chair. Recently, we released a link for the FedEx Pilot's Retirement Income Modeler. It can be found on fdxta.com. The modeler allows the pilots a more in-depth look at what their potential projected benefit would be if they either remained in the improved pension plan or they want to evaluate a switch to the market-based cash balance plan in the modeler. You'll be able to see a few things. We'll start with the right side of the model that shows the projected income at retirement. The current plan shows exactly what we have today. That's the left column here. Essentially, what this equates to is a $130,000 benefit if you have or will achieve 25 years of service with a high five of $260,000. Understand that this portion of the agreement is what's in the current book. So in other words, if the agreement is not ratified, this is ultimately what the pilots would have today. The reason for the purple bars below shows what the current benefit achieved is. It also indicates on the market-based cash balance plan what the frozen plan accrual is. As we step through this, you simply need to add the two numbers to figure out what the pension benefit is. When you look at the graph, you should also be looking at the total value between these two bars combined, the purple and the gold. As you add those up, in this example, those equal $130,000. Again, it assumes 25 years of service. In this example, the pilot is at age 50, and we're showing a retirement age at 65, with the final average earnings of $260,000, which gets multiplied by 2% and ultimately creating a $130,000 benefit. Some senior pilots may have additives from prior contract negotiations, in particular from 1999 and 2006, with pay service multipliers that change the 2% benefit accrual rate. If you look at the middle column, that's the A plan with the new TA negotiated improvements. Again, the purple is the soft freeze, but in this example, it's the accrued benefit to date, which doesn't occur in the legacy plan. In other words, there's no frozen benefit in the improved legacy plan. It's just a limitation of the modeler. You should look at the entire combined benefit. That's $91,000 plus $78,000. That provides a combined benefit of $169,000 for a pilot that will have a high five of $338,000. Moving over to the far right side of the graph, you see importantly the frozen current benefit, which is calculated at $260,000 FAE times your years of service, which is frozen when you transition to the market-based cash balance plan. That value is added in the gold bar and includes your market-based cash balance plan benefit annuitized in this example, plus the higher $290,000 FAE cap. Again, the higher $290,000 FAE cap is included in this market-based calculation at the top in the gold bar. Again, it's important to note that a portion of this $88,000 market-based cash balance plan benefit comes from the higher $290,000 frozen FAE cap. And when I say frozen, the only item that gets frozen when a pilot transitions are the current years of service when they transition to the market-based cash balance plan. We've also, in this instance, shown an annuitized value for the market-based cash balance plan. However, the normal distribution method would be a lump sum. If you want to see what the lump sum value is, simply change the selection at the bottom where it says Show Retirement Income, which has a drop-down menu to allow you to choose either annuity or cash value. If you select the cash, that will show you the combined market-based cash balance plan cash value upon retirement. In this example, age 65. But again, keep in mind this includes the annuitized value from the legacy benefit and the higher FAE cap of $290,000. For an example, I'll show that to you now. So as I transition over to the cash selection from the annuity, you'll see that these values change from an annual annuity to a lump sum benefit. The lump sum benefit here, $1.176 million, plus the $1.034 million from the current frozen benefit. I'll reselect the annual annuity. As you look at the general data and assumptions, some of them are pretty straightforward. First and foremost, you need to enter your hire age with FedEx. The second option is your current age. While it seems simple, if you want to look forward, you need to project when this plan would transition. So if you decide to move to the market-based cash balance plan, the TA provides for that move in January of 2025. The election period will be sometime next year. It's worth mentioning that between now and the transition date of January 2025, a pilot will accrue 2 more years of service. This happens in the November bid month each year. That would not be accounted for if you run the model today, and then what you'll need to do is again next year when you hit your birthday, change your actual current age. Therefore, you may just want to reflect your current age at the time you expect to move into the market-based cash balance plan. Again, that's January 2025. That will allow your years of service calculation in the current pension to be complete and correct when you actually make the market-based transition. Again, this is just for education purposes. When the company rolls out their modeler, and they will roll out a modeler in coordination with ALPA, that information will be provided to you sometime next year, which will be much closer to the time which you make the election. So in other words, the modeling you're using during the election period should be more accurate for current conditions. In this hypothetical example today, however, we're just going to use the pilot who was hired at 35, whose current age is 50. The other 2 boxes below are current average high five salary and current annual salary. Obviously, you have to make a projection of what you believe will be your annual W-2 earnings this year. So we'd want to put your expected earnings for the entire year and enter that under current annual salary. You would enter your highest 5-year average salary here. You can find this information in your most recent FedEx retirement benefit statement. If it's unknown, you can leave the field blank and the model will actually estimate your average high five salary based on your current annual salary. In this example, I'll show the pilot as having both a high five salary and current salary of the same, $350,000 each. As we move down to the future salary increase, the simplest method would be to select career. Career has an underlying assumption built from the data that we receive through FedEx actuarial consulting firm. The career model essentially takes a blended average to create a typical FedEx pilot's career, and that's based off of all the pilots who previously have had upgrades and transitioned throughout their career, and it blends them into a single career projection modeler. And the increases, again, are based off of W-2 increases. So that's the simplest thing to do with the model. However, you can also go in and you can select a projected increase, which could be more important for a pilot who potentially is at their highest pay. In other words, the final seat without future upgrades and beyond 15 years of skill. So rather than enter career, they may want to go in and simply enter in the drop-down menu either 3 or 3.5%. If you weren't in contract negotiations with a TA in front of us, then typically what you would want to enter here is that 3 or 3.5%. However, the modeler, it should be noted, is somewhat conservative in that it does not take into account the improved TA pay raises over the next 3.5 years. In this example, we're going to use the career progression for this pilot. Moving down the modeler, you'll see the IRS limits and Social Security benefit limit. That's locked out at 2.5%. That does a couple things for us in the modeler. First, what it does is limit your career earnings IRS compensation limit to the current year, and it projects forward what those increases will be. This year, of course, in 2023, it's $330,000 comp. It also adjusts the Social Security benefit moving forward. The drop-down menu below here, or the open defined contribution balance, allows you to put in FedEx contributions to the PRSP. For now, I've selected in the box down below to exclude the company PRSP contributions and the pilot's contributions and Social Security. So all you're seeing right now in the projected income at retirement is strictly the market-based cash balance plan, the improved pension under the TA, and the current pension. And you'll see here what I've done for later use is I put the defined contribution account balance from FedEx. That's the 9% PRSP contribution to $500,000. I've left the defined contribution account balance, that's the pilot's money, at zero for now. So we thought it would be a useful tool, and we've spent a lot of time on this model with our consultants. We did think it would be a useful tool to allow the pilot to eventually model their own defined contribution. You could also change your annual deferral rate. That's what you contribute in your non-elective deferrals, and then your expected return on your DC account. This information obviously can be found in your Fidelity account. You can go back and you can look at a 5 and 10 year contribution to gauge what number you'd like to plug in here. In this example today, however, we'll use $500,000 for the company money. And when we were building and working on improving the retirement benefit, we were strictly looking at company contributions on behalf of the pilot. For now, in this example, however, I'm excluding defined contribution. The model allows, as you move down, a selection between age 60 and 65, and the drop down is available. That may give you, the company modeler may give you some wider ability to choose a age prior to 60. So the current A plan provisions are the current provisions that provide your benefit in the current unimproved legacy plan. In other words, what we have in the CBA today. These provisions are 2%, 25 years of service, and a $260,000 final average earnings cap, and a FedEx defined contribution, that's the contribution to your PRSP, of 9%. As you move down the current plan, the current A plan with modifications is what was newly negotiated in the tentative agreement. That is represented by the middle bar. So the A plan is, again, 2% service cap of 25 years, and the improved provisions, which begin at data signing of $325,000 final average earnings on data signing, then $330,000 final average earnings on January 1st, 2025, and finally the $338,000 final average earnings January 1st, 2027. These provisions automatically adjust based on the age that you provide above. You don't need to go in and change this, nor can you change the FAE cap. For example, if I were to go in and make this pilot today 65, you'll see that the 338 final average earnings will change to reflect the data signing. So it automatically adjusts down here, the FAE, so it will not let you put in a number lower than what you can achieve based off of your current age. So here, the pilot is currently 65, retiring at 65. The A plan 5-year final average earnings cap has been lowered to 330 or 325. Let me go back and change this pilot to age 50. So the last assumptions at the bottom of the model are the cash balance plan, the market-based cash balance plan with the A plan modifications. And the reason we state with the A plan modifications is because it includes the improved $290,000 FAE. So this is looked at on the right side of the bar graph. The market-based cash balance plan has a negotiated company contribution credit of 11%, shown here and locked. It includes an expected cash balance interest credit, which has been negotiated to target 6.5%. And it also includes a $290,000 FAE cap, just as I mentioned prior. Again, the $290,000 FAE cap is tied to that market-based transition. Therefore, if you decide to move to and transition to the market-based cash balance plan, your current $260,000 final average earnings cap increases to $290,000. So you'll get to continue to accrue or work towards that higher FAE cap while your years of service are frozen in the plan. So in this example, we see a pilot who was hired at 35 and their current age is 50, projecting to retire at age 65. This pilot would be better off in the improved pension. In other words, staying in the improved pension plan with modifications, or the middle column. This pilot has a $338,000 final average earning cap, which produces $169,000 maximum pension benefit. You would need to add the $91,000 to the $78,000 to show this $169,000. This could be shown all in gold, as there isn't any soft freeze. If the pilot moves to the market-based cash balance plan, perhaps for some reason, maybe they like the features of the lump sum or other portability features that are found in the market-based cash balance plan, then the pilot would have a frozen benefit calculated today at $78,000, but they would continue to improve and accrue the legacy plan higher FAE of $290,000. So the years of service again is frozen, but with a higher $290,000 cap. That number is included in the $88,702 annuitized benefit shown in the market-based cash balance plan. What we could do in this case is to show you some of the variables. Let's say, for example, let's change this pilot to age 45. They're hired at 35. Their current age is 45 now. In this hypothetical example, I'm going to change the pilot's expected retirement age to 60. Some pilots bid quality of life, and they've always expected and planned for retirement age 60, and this may be a situation here. So assuming this is the case, you could see the pilot would receive an improved final average earning benefit of $338,000 FAE cap, ultimately producing $169,000 pension. You'd also note that the market-based cash balance plan benefit, if the pilot retires at age 60, is $77,320 annuitized, but again, it's combined with the remainder of his $290,000 FAE cap, and it also includes the $52,000 frozen pension. So what I'd like to show you now, though, is the power of this market-based cash balance plan for pilots that have more years to put in, and when they receive contributions to the plan, and we'll just go straight to age 65, show you the full extent of the compounding, the 11% company contribution from when the pilot transitions to the market-based cash balance plan. In this example, you'll see if the pilot does retire at 65, the pilot's market-based cash balance plan benefit looks far superior than the current legacy plan of $169,000 and the pension benefit. What I'd like to show you is the impact of this annuity. However, keep in mind the market-based cash balance plan, the most likely form of distribution again is a lump sum. So even though this is shown in annuity, typically that will be paid out in a lump sum. However, there is this option to take an annuity in the negotiated benefit. But let's move down and select the cash value benefit here so you can see what likely the pilot would select. So in this case here, the pilot would have a cash value of essentially $1.8 million. If the pilot wanted to include, again, the company money only at this point, assuming the pilot has a current defined contribution balance of $500,000, we can show you what that's going to look like. But again, the $1.853 million gets added to the $689,000. This is the cash equivalent value for that annuity. But to show you the addition of the company defined contribution money, what you'd see here is in gray, the pilot's defined contribution money from the PRSP. Again, this is just what the company is providing for your benefit. This has nothing to do with what you elect to set aside. So you can see this produces almost $6 million in total benefit. $3.2 million comes from the defined contribution side, and the remainder is between their current frozen benefit of $689,000 and the market-based cash balance plan of $1.85 million. But remember, again, the pension is transitioned here to a cash value, which is not an option in the current legacy plan, and that you would actually have to look back at the annualized annuity to see what the annuity produces. And we can do that now. We can select back to the annual annuity. And again, it's important because that benefit in purple would show up as an annuity. In other words, a monthly check. And unless the pilot selects the lump sum, they default into this annuity and into the market-based cash balance plan. And then finally, what's not annuitized but is cash, in other words, what your balance is in the defined contribution, this is just converting it to an annuity. So let's take a look and see what that would look like when you add in the pilot's own elective, non-elective deferrals. So we'll include those, and again, those will show up in the pink bar at the top. So that's the pilot's own contributions. We'll go back over here and select what likely. Right now we had a 0. That's why that number is low. But what we would do here is put the pilot's own contribution money. And, a decent rule of thumb is it's about half of what your total fidelity benefit is. But that assumes that you're matching essentially what the company contributions have been, which are 9%. Here, we're showing a pilot's annual deferral rate of 7%. So that brings you up to $217,000 in an annual annuity as well. So what we also have the ability to do is obviously layer in the Social Security. I would caution pilots in doing that. There is a big note. If you do decide to include Social Security benefit at the top, there's a big caution about using that in explanation. Again, this is just more for education and planning rather than planning purposes, but it does show the total projected benefit when you retire. So all combined, if you're trying to isolate just company money, then again, you would want to exclude, which I'll do now, exclude your own money, and then just look at the total combined company money provided at retirement. And again, that's exactly what we were targeting for in income replacement ratios. At the end, this has been a fairly quick rundown of the modeler based on questions that we've seen come up during the roadshow. Hopefully you found this informative. I'd encourage each of you to evaluate the material, hopefully with your family and the model. And you also go into section 28 in the FDXTA and read in depth all the changes that have occurred. The retirement negotiated on your behalf is the most significant portion of this TA. It's the cornerstone issue, and we finally improved our pension for the first time since the plan was first included in our CBA dating back to 1999. These improvements have created a comprehensive choice for our pilots, and they're absolutely going to provide retirement security for you and your family for life. You shouldn't underestimate the magnitude of these improvements. Lastly, there are also some new options found in the Section 28F letter regarding pilots who want to retire sooner and they have yet to complete perhaps their 28F advance notice for retirement, or perhaps they would like to establish a new date sooner than the one that they have now. So we hope that the run through here was helpful, and if you have questions, feel free to send us a dart. We appreciate you taking the time.